Hey everyone, welcome to the second office hours. I see Tony is joining with us as well with the classic FileMaker user. I'd like to introduce Ryan Klenk. He's one of our most senior developers, and he and I have been working together for a long time doing a lot of these presentations. We are excited to present dashboards, and this is something that's near and dear to my heart because I love KPIs, I love dashboarding, I love the whole thing. So if you don't mind, Ryan, hit the rules of engagement here, and we will rock and roll. So again, it's not a one-way webinar. Glad to see Tony throwing his camera on. I encourage it. Let's all get a look at each other, see who we are, what's going on, how it's going. Throw things into the chat. We got people watching the chat rooms. We got if you got a question during the presentation, throw it in there. I've got Mike Burgee on the line. I've got Pratt on the line. I've got some of my associate developers on the line. They can individually answer questions as we go. And then we're recording this, so you'll get the recording at the end and be able to see everything. We got a special guest in the audience, our Grand Poobah Quick, Darren. There he is. He is our beloved BAM, our business account manager from Claris. And if you've got Claris-y kind of questions, throw those in the chat too, and we can help you out there. So, without further ado, Ryan, let's chit chat about dashboards and how FileMaker has really helped us. The picture of the beach chair is really, when I started the company 27 years ago, somebody told me that you should be able to take your books and your business and your metrics, and you should be able to run your business on a beach chair with a fax machine, basically getting the numbers, the numbers, your metrics, your KPIs, things like that are the dials of your business, and being able to see information going in and out, I think is super important. So I put that beach chair there because I don't think it's a fax machine anymore. I think it's FileMaker Go and an iPad, has replaced that technology. But that's basically the reason for that. So Ryan, why don't you take it away, man?
Yeah, so I mean, I think kind of starting with the first bullet point here, why are dashboards important? I think it really comes down to what you're trying to do with your business. It's about measuring progress against against the data. So I mean, I don't know, Marshall, what's your favorite metric?
Well, typically, and I meant to mention this before, we had a great presentation about getting your database ready for hosting last time because of everything that's happening with remote. And my favorite metrics are usually the metrics that help people do their jobs. We also have an IT side of our company, and anytime that anybody would ask me about working remote, how do I get my employees to work remote? The first thing I would ask them is, do you have your metrics in order? Do you know how many calls your sales folks are supposed to make? Do you know how many activities your folks are supposed to do? So my favorite tends to be around the activities of the individual. So, in this remote world, people working off site, you're not in the cube next to them. You're not walking past them. You don't know if they need help or not. So being able to look at a solid dashboard allows us to manage folks and work with them and get success for everybody. The great thing about FileMaker and dashboards is the fact that when you tab off that field, you are committing the record in FileMaker, so you're doing updates right away. So I love FileMaker and dashboards because it allows you to see information literally in real time as people are tabbing through fields and things like that. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think to even kind of take a step back and talk about what a dashboard is, I think that's kind of important too, especially uh, I don't know, in the context of FileMaker. I like to think of it as just like a collection of widgets that are measuring things in your system, data points, and presenting that in a way that is meaningful to you, that highlights the important numbers or shows the important trends and the trend lines and kind of what's going on in your system. So it could be like single points, single data points, just standard numbers that kind of are displayed there. It could be graphs. It could be a bar graph or a pie chart or a donut chart or a scatter plot. They could be just streams of data. So recently, created contacts. Here's the people who are newest in your system, the newest accounts in your system. That way you can kind of take a look at it on a daily basis, reach out and say hi to those people. And that sort of stuff. Kind of moving on to this second bullet point, I think the ability to see that data, those important points kind of highlighted, right, set front and center in your system, especially really important again in the current environment because we've at Mainspring have obviously been doing the remote workforce thing for years and years, but it's a new experience for I think a lot of companies, and I think if you don't have a dashboard set up, it could be really easy, if you don't have that water cooler talk or those in-person meetings with all the little sidebars and so on. It can be really easy to kind of lose sight of some of the things that are really important in your business. And if you're not currently measuring those, I think and you've got a full remote workforce where maybe you don't have eyes and ears as reliably as you used to, it could definitely be a problem. So definitely something to kind of keep an eye on. Again, if you are lucky enough to have a remote workforce in this day and age.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what are the elements? I think you got the next slide cooking there as far as
Yeah. So KPIs are what we're really talking about there, key performance indicators, right? I think it's kind of you got to be careful with KPIs. There's a phrase or a saying that I really like that data can tell you the truth with a forked tongue, right? So you might get accurate information from the data that's being presented to you, but it might not tell you the full story. It might not give you the fullest picture. So while a number might kind of make it look like you're doing really well business wise, that could have there could be other factors going at play there or other pieces of the picture that you're not totally getting that can mislead you a little bit. But at the end of the day, they're just like you said, the name suggests, they're key performance indicators. So not too many, but obviously you don't want too few either. You don't want one or two because then you're driving all your business off of one or two numbers, which anybody can hit a number, but being able to hit all the numbers, I think that's where success really comes into play.
Right. And, we probably should have put a slide up here in hindsight that gave some of the ideas for KPIs, like easy ones if you're in a commercial business or, net profit, things like that. Harder ones are how many calls your call center's making or how many donations that you've gotten from an individual. I see a lot of associations in the user group. And they're always, I think I had somebody explain to me that, everybody uses these big AMS systems and they all hate them. They're all looking for something else. And, potentially it's because of the dashboarding and the inability to get to the numbers that they need. So you got a demo for us, Ryan?
I do. Yeah, I do.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Oh, we're going to serve up a demo, are we?
So we cooked up a little demo for the purposes of this presentation. And to kind of give you some background on what the demo is kind of collating data about is it's really simple. We've just have people and donations, and kind of a one-to-many relationship between people and donations there. And it allowed us enough enough to kind of throw together some KPIs and present this information to you in a meaningful way in a dashboard, which is a good, again, highlight. So it's a really simple dashboard. There's not tons of complex metrics or graphs happening here, but I think it's enough to kind of wet your whistle and kind of get your imagination rolling here.
And this is built in the brand new spanking, I'm going to brush a little bit of the cellophane off of it, FileMaker 19, right?
You got it. It is FileMaker.
Yeah.
We do use some nice FileMaker 19 features in this, so we'll take a look at that in a bit here.
Yep. Under the hood.
FileMaker 19 for sure. So a couple of things that I want to point out here. I've got kind of 4 widgets at play here. So the first one I've got is, I mentioned kind of single data points, just presented in a meaningful way, just kind of easily highlighted. And that's what we've got going on here. I think honestly, what a lot of our clients, what we see is these single data points. That's really what most people want to see. They want to see, like, here, what are the numbers right now for this month or for this year or whatever. Like, the graphs are nice, but I feel like you can, they can be a little bit visually busy sometimes. And a lot of times they're really just trying to get at that number. Like, what is that number today? So I like these a lot, and they're not too hard to set up. We've also got it set up here to, when you click on it, it shows you the data that makes up that number. So we've got 1 new members this month. You click on it, and it brings up that specific new member and when they joined. And then we've got the donation that they donated when they joined as well.
So it's just drill down. You have the capability to drill down into your data points as well, which is very cool. And if there were more than one, you could probably make this a list instead of a detail as well. Little logic back there.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, this system's super basic. I mean, there's like 3 user visible layouts, 2 details in the dashboard. But you can see,
right,
if you do the donations, we've got 62. And we could totally do a list, or we could totally show you, I don't know, presenting the data. The sky's the limit, and that's really the beauty of Claris's FileMaker, right? Is all that is totally customizable. We do whatever we want with it. So
gotcha.
this data would be better consumed in a different format, then that's an option.
So it could be that you connect FileMaker to a website, right? Through however the heck you guys do that. Maybe you could talk through that a little bit. Somebody comes in, they want to do a donation, they're on the website, they provide their donation information. It's connected to a credit card, or it's connected to PayPal. When they do that and hit the submit on the website, boop, it all comes into FileMaker. And it does make that noise, right? It definitely makes that noise.
Yeah, I mean, that's a mission critical feature, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's all totally possible. That integration with your website, or just spinning up like a specific payment form whose sole purpose is to feed this information into FileMaker and process the payment. You can integrate with things like Stripe, or I'm sure Claris Connect has some integrations. I haven't specifically looked in regards to payment processing, but
that's more of a Burgie thing, but I'm sure he'll throw something in the chat about whether, it could easily go into QuickBooks or other systems. Yeah, very cool.
But yeah, I mean, like I said, all totally possible, that integration aspect with any sort of a website. FileMaker has a feature called their REST data API, which really kind of opens up the capability to integrate with whatever your heart desires.
Yeah. Very often I try to explain FileMaker in the enterprise is the enterprise systems are the rocks you put in the jar, and FileMaker is like the sand that goes around it. We've taken advantage of these APIs with Trello, Harvest, QuickBooks, HubSpot, and integrated and put together pretty complex dashboards with those 3.
Yeah.
But I love that aspect of FileMaker, that it can hit those APIs, and then you create the single pane of glass in FileMaker. So if you close this window, the one new member per month could be from an enterprise system, if the APIs are connected, and you really wouldn't know, right?
Yeah, totally. That's absolutely a possibility.
Yeah, awesome. Awesome. So that's the single point of data graph. What else you got for us?
Yeah, so I've also got this kind of like gauge chart over here, and this one, I mean, this one's a little bit more, visually interesting for sure. And it's actually, I mean, it's a web viewer, and we have loaded some HTML and JavaScript, and we're using a charting library called C3JS, which, if you're familiar with D3, which is that New York Times visualization library that is super popular. It's basically an offshoot of that, a little bit easier to set up. So for a simple demo like this, I'm gonna kind of reach for that, and I still like it for even some other projects as well, because you get the ease of these kind of pre-built charts, but you still get the D3 library underneath in case you need to tweak how something works there, or do something more complicated, either visually or interaction wise. But this is nice because we've got kind of the current month and the 2 months previous, and we've got it set up to conditionally display different colors depending on how far we are against our goal. And I think what we set the goal is just something arbitrary based on kind of the data that we have going on here. I think it's like 75K or something.
Is that charting specific? Tell me about that charting. Oh, that's very cool. In relationship to FileMaker 19, is it easier to do that than 18? Is it what does FileMaker 19 bring specifically to that chart?
So specifically to this chart, it actually really doesn't do anything. FileMaker has kind of always had this capability of loading in JavaScript and HTML.
Okay.
I think it does play a role in this chart down here. So I can kind of quickly show this. We've got it set up to where if you click on, for example, September 2019, it will actually find you all those donations in September 2019. So this is an example of one of FileMaker 19's new features related to JavaScript, where you can actually call FileMaker scripts from the context of JavaScript. So I'm clicking here, and this is running a bit of JavaScript within my web viewer, which is then calling the FileMaker script in my system and performing a FileMaker action, which is also, I mean, it was something we could kind of do before as well, but it really kind of reinforces that integration and removes some limitations that we had in some of our environments. And just honestly, it makes the whole process a lot cleaner and simpler.
What were some of those limitations, do you feel like?
Well, I think on Windows, there were like character limitations when you called the script and you passed in a parameter. So you could only pass like a certain number of characters as a parameter to that script. And in the past, we've had, and I think they kind of fixed this in 18, but in the past, we've had issues where you might try to run a script from the context of JavaScript and would call like a different version of FileMaker, and you would have to make sure that everything works well there. But I feel like they've been kind of moving towards this for a long time now, and it's really, I mean, it's gotten to the point where I don't know, it's really nice to use.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome.
Yeah, there's other stuff they've done on this as well. You can now actually call JavaScript functions from outside the web viewer as well. So in a FileMaker script, I can, and that's actually how we fake the data. We've got a blog post in the works on this, but just really quickly, I can kind of show.
Yeah, we've got a wide range of audience here. So for the folks who don't know how to program, and I mean, that's hopefully opens up your eyes as stuff that you can do and APIs and other things. For the people who are actually like super curious about behind the scenes, here we go. Now, the Latin that was in all those records, it still looks like Latin to me. So.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, we've got, you know, we threw together this little thing to create the fake contacts. And again, we've got a blog post kind of coming that breaks this down, but they introduced this new form JavaScript in web viewer where you can load some JavaScript in a web viewer and then call a function from outside of that JavaScript. So, you know, that's something that you really, you couldn't do before. That is something that's like, you know, brand new in 19 and a really, really nice addition as far as their integration with JavaScript goes.
Awesome. So that line 14 is what gives you the ability to click on the chart and
yeah. So now this is totally separate from the charts. We set up this set of scripts here to generate our fake data in our system. So you know, if I run this, it'll give me 500 new fake contacts, 500 new people and donations. And you know, we do that just to, you know, to have some data to play around with.
Gotcha. All right. Well, so now we've got a single point. We've got kind of a multi-point with some goals in there. We've got a line. We've got a line chart or a bar chart that's taken advantage of some of the FileMaker 19. Which in theory, and I tell people this all the time, every time FileMaker comes out with a new version, it just makes it easier for the developers to put more value into the application, and it's easier. So if you had to compare between doing this, if I asked you to do this in 18 and asked you to do it in 19, what do you think the time savings is? Are we talking 5 hours, 10 hours, or impossible, so it's infinity?
It's hard to quantify, you know. I mean, I don't know. I don't think there's a huge difference in time savings between doing it in 18 versus 19. You know, for something like for either one of these, like I think both were possible. Maybe just slightly different routes here and there. So, you know, I think the real value, you know, in kind of coming up to 19 is gives me a lot more confidence to use JavaScript in production solutions. Which maybe before, you know, maybe I'm a little bit more hesitant because the support for it isn't as ingrained in the software. You know what I mean? Whereas now, you know, we've got specific functions which call out JavaScript. So I'm going to feel a lot better about, you know, steering my clients towards that way and recommending or just implementing a JavaScript-based solution.
Okay. So we got the single point, we've got the goals, we've got the clickable. What's on the bottom? This is kind of a new trend in dashboarding.
Yeah, so I mean,
believe it or not,
really simple setup here, just essentially kind of a stream of the most recent donations. So you can kind of imagine as you get new donations, you'll see them kind of pop up here, and you can click on it and kind of review that person and all their past donations and reach out to thank them or whatever. You know, I think we have done something obviously much more complex and robust for a client of ours in their order system, and they really liked it. So you know, we had their orders, and we had kind of a stream of their orders broken out by stage of the order, and then obviously all the metrics above it as well. So you know, they can kind of get the quick view of like, here's how much money I have in this stage, here's how much money I have in this stage, and so on and so on. And then if I want to click down and kind of drill into some of the detail of what makes up those numbers, I've got it right there and then. And they really like that. It seemed like it really kind of helped their workflow out a lot. So I've been kind of steering more clients, you know, when they ask for a dashboard, I try to throw in some sort of stream of data or some sort of way to view what those numbers are made up of.
All right. Well, can you take us behind the scenes then, like start in the upper left-hand corner and just, you know, quickly show what the layout looks like and maybe any challenges you had as far as putting it together or.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. So
awesome.
The way I try to do dashboarding whenever possible is to kind of collect all the information and then store it. So that way it could be something that gets kicked off on the server side. You know, you run a script, it finds all that data, it does all the complicated queries and aggregations and collects all that and then sets it in stored fields that are just part of like a table whose sole purpose is to present this data. You know, and the goal there is really performance. You know, I don't want somebody to come in here and wait 20 minutes to see their information because they're just not going to do that, right? Nobody's ever going to do that. And especially if it's something like, it's your home view and it's the first screen that you open up to, it would be a little ridiculous to ask you to wait that long to open up your system and review that data.
So one of the design questions is this data that I need to see it go from 33,841 to 33,842 right now, or is it something that I can, like, on a daily basis or an hourly basis, or 2 times a day, get an update, right? I mean, obviously you gotta look at each widget and decide the refresh rate, so to speak.
That's an excellent point. And, I mean, it is something that we do take into account. And there are situations where we do show that kind of up to the second data if it is necessary to do that. And there's ways we can, kind of do that, make it more performant. But yeah, again, whenever possible, I'm just going to push it off to the server and let it do that. I think also, I mean, realistically, what does it matter if you see that data and it's 5 minutes stale? I think there's probably not that many industries where that really matters, or not too many options.
If it's somebody's heartbeat. Hey, we got a question. Can you provide a personalized view? In other words, could I have one FileMaker file and then have different people log in and then see different widgets?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, you can do that in a bunch of different ways. Obviously, kind of like the first one that jumps out is just design different dashboards for each appropriate, party or privilege set or whatever. And then on open, push them off into the appropriate layout. For one of our other clients, we set up the same dashboard, but we changed what data is available based on who was logged in, really based on the permission that they had to their data. So with that situation, they had a number of different dealers that could purchase or that could sell their product. And if they logged in as a dealer, they would only see obviously their lot. But if they logged in as an administrator, they would have a drop down showing all lots available in the system, or all, or by region, and they'd be able to kind of flip between to see, how is this one specific lot doing, or how is all the lots in this specific region doing?
Awesome. Okay, well, I kind of interrupted your tour, so we're still in the upper left-hand corner there. We're storing the data, the whole nine.
So, I've pretty much, we have these kind of single fields, and we kick off in this case, we've got a script to go through, and we do pretty simple queries. They're just, we use the execute SQL function in FileMaker to get counts of all the relevant data based on, in this case, it's the month that they joined. Donations this month, kind of a similar deal. We just count the donations based on the month that the donation was made in. And then average donation, again, another simple query. We just grab the average of that donation. So we're getting all this data, we're storing it in variables, and then we're setting it in these fields, and then that directly impacts what shows up here. We've also got it set up, and obviously depending on the context, we might change how this works. But in this case, we just have it set up to essentially recreate these queries in FileMaker scripting. So if I go to one new members this month, we're just going to new members, and we're just effectively recreating that query in FileMaker, just finding people who have joined in the current month. And we get, obviously, our one new member.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, so moving along here,
cool.
I'll show this, this gauge dashboard chart as well. So the magic for this really comes in, we've got this chart table over here. And we've got this gauge chart. So, I mean, it's just a really simple HTML page with some JavaScript baked in. We're loading our libraries from a CDN. So it's, a CDN being just essentially a network or a provider that hosts these libraries for us in a secure manner. that we can just pull them down so that we don't have to host them. If this were going to be a production environment, I would probably just go ahead and pull these down and store them as part of this. But you know, just for ease, I just did the CDN here. And then we've got kind of like this little bit right here, which is our JavaScript chart. You'll notice there are some parts that are not real JavaScript code. And what we're doing is we're substituting those bits with data from our dashboard table. And then that's actually driving. So the chart data we're generating and storing as part of this dashboard table through a bunch of queries, and we're formatting it in kind of the way that it expects. And then we set that as part of this dashboard table and then substitute it out at time of load. So again, that way we don't have to do that query live, which just, it all exists there and is refreshed whenever we want to refresh it, whether that's every 5 minutes or an hour or whatever.
And in theory too, you could have a mechanical button on the layout that if I need it refreshed right now, I hit a button and it goes out and it does its thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, and I mean the chart that's coming out here, I mean, this is literally, you know, it's no different than any standard. Let me just do. Something like this. I mean, this is just a regular old HTML file. So if I were to like do something like this.
There's a bunch of people on this call that said, what did you just do? And it's, hello. Wow.
I'm gonna just open up a little web server on my desktop here.
Yeah, I do that sometimes.
Like it's just a regular old HTML file. So I mean, this is something that you could, and we've done this in other contexts as well. So in this case, we have multiple web viewers that are displaying different charts. But we've just developed like an entire dashboard just as a web page, and the benefit of that is, you know, you get more responsive features out of it. So we can kind of get a little bit of responsive design here with FileMaker. But you know, it's not. It's a little bit limited. Like you pretty much only get anchoring on each edge of the window, and to do things like collapse the charts into a single column rather than this kind of 2-column layout that we've got going on here. You would have to actually change the layout physically. But obviously, if you do it with HTML, like you do get that kind of option. You can use like Flexbox or whatever. To automatically, you know, resize or space things based on the size of the window. So, you know, if you find that responsive design is going to be a requirement for your dashboard, you can develop it entirely, just an entire website, web page of your dashboard, and then, you know, just substitute all the data points out at time of load, and you've got yourself a responsive dashboard.
So all that data is still coming from FileMaker.
Yeah, absolutely.
So in theory, if you had some people that just wanted to view only with dashboarding, not inputting, not using anything, I mean, this might be a way to go as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Wow. So you know, I'm trying to make this user group for everybody, and I've gotten a couple side chats where, you know, gosh, he lost me a while ago. Well, look, I used to develop in FileMaker years ago, and I actually got fired from my own group because they came to me and said, you know, that conversation you should have with your parents when they shouldn't drive, and I was like, yeah, I got to talk to my mom, and they're like, yeah, we're having it with you. You can't develop for clients anymore. So I know about this. I have a nearly worthless computer science degree from 30 years ago, but our attempt here is again to make it for everybody. So if you're in the top of the business stack or the executive side, let's not go top and bottom, let's go left and right. If you're on the left side where you are interested in the numbers, hopefully you've gotten a little taste of like what can be done and some ideas of connecting into different systems and how FileMaker truly is that sand that coats the rocks. If you're technical, and when Ryan opened up his terminal session on his computer right in the middle of a demo where I would have formatted the hard drive, he successfully brought up a web server. Ryan, we should be able to make this demo file available for people to tease apart, right?
Totally.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. I'll make sure that everybody gets a copy of that. Um, and then for the middle folks, we've got the technical people on one side, we've got the thing on the other side. We are um, we'll get you the information that you're looking for. So what I'd like to do now, I mean, we're kind of right on schedule with the timing it all. I've got one more little poll to throw out that I'm super curious. um, using FileMaker and connecting to other systems, I think is key. I thought of a few there. I think Claire's Connect pretty much, um, rock skips across a lot of those, um, and we can get some connectivity going there. But I'd really like to open it up to questions. If anybody has questions or a specific part of the dashboarding that they want to see. Ryan, do you think you could have got somebody asking if you could connect to SAP with FileMaker?
Yeah, I mean, it's not something I've specifically done, but I think the beauty of FileMaker is that SAP, if they allow open a REST API interface, then yeah, we can totally connect to it. Yeah,
Awesome.
anything really that exposes an API is something that we can integrate with, and these days, I think you'd be hard pressed to find, a really truly established product that, I mean, even the small players expose an API. It's like, we integrate with some things that I would have never heard of if our clients hadn't been using them, and they all have APIs.
Hmm.
I'm sure SAP does, and I'm sure we'd be able to.
Well, I think it goes something like I go to you, I ask you to connect to the mystery application, and it has an API. The first thing you do, I watched you do this in front of me with HubSpot. You just looked up the API to see what it did, and then you just started mapping things out, and away we go. We had a business case where I needed to connect HubSpot, Harvest, and Trello together to pull everything into FileMaker and make a single pane of glass on that. And unfortunately, it's got client information, so I can't show you, but I can look at, in Trello, we keep track of the number of hours per card and columns and things like that. And I can, with one graph, I can see how many hours are in each one of those cards across all of the clients. I have there was a product called Corello that I think was charging, geez, I don't know, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 a year. And Ryan, through, I think, what was it? I would say it was like 80 hours, replaced it.
Wait,
And we believe in continuous improvement, and I've always got ideas, so I never let them off the hook. We pretty much have a biweekly meeting so that I can give them more stuff, but it's pretty awesome. So some of the other things, um, all right, they're using Dropbox. I've heard Tableau. You got any thoughts on Tableau?
I think FileMaker natively integrates with Tableau. It's not anything that I've had the pleasure of like directly doing myself, but
Hmm.
from what I understand, yeah, you could do a direct integration there. I can't recall if it's the server version or if it's the desktop version only. it might have at one time been the desktop version only, but in later versions, I don't want to say the wrong thing there, but
Right.
I'll just say, yeah, I believe it is possible, and some of the particulars there might need to be hammered out.
How about, I don't know what the use case, this is an interesting one, OneNote. Maybe putting OneNote connectivity or pulling data from an Excel spreadsheet on Office 365. Isn't that just dragging a spreadsheet on top of FileMaker and letting FileMaker? We've
Yeah,
all seen that demo, right?
I'm glad you brought up the Excel one. There is Microsoft has a new API system called Microsoft Graph, which I've had the pleasure to use, and it's really nice. And you could do tons of things across their entire Office 365 offerings. And I believe Excel is definitely in there. I don't know exactly what you can do. I don't recall all the particulars about that product specifically, but I do know an integration with that's totally possible. I don't know about OneNote either. I can't recall if OneNote's Office 365 offering as well, or but if it is, I would imagine there's some level of integration there as well. Yeah, that Microsoft Graph, that API, it's pretty extensive. There's a lot there.
Right. We got a question. I imagine implementing a dashboard and it instantly killing my database performance. How does one prevent this in their design?
Yeah, I
I
mean,
think we touched on that a little bit as far as storing results or.
Yeah. I think it's really common, and you know, unfortunately, the easiest way to build a dashboard is probably the least performant way as well. It's you pretty much just pull all that live data and you throw it on the screen, and of course, then that means that FileMaker has to go off to 20 different tables and pull all this data and collate it all together and aggregate it and display it to you. So it's a lot of work that it's got to do. I think honestly, anything that you can do to move that off into something that you're doing behind the scenes, and then just setting kind of standard fields with that information, not unstored calculations or anything like that. Anything that you do in that to move towards that is gonna pay off dividends in your performance.
Right, refreshing at night, refreshing 4 hours. I think with our use cases, we have a meeting every Thursday at 1 to review our portfolio, and I think you have our dashboards kicking off at noon so that when we sit down and have that meeting, we're ready to go over it and everything. So yeah, there are a lot of different ways I think that you can map this out. But again, I can't beat the drum enough about the integrations between FileMaker and disparate systems to pull all this information together. We've done a ton of that with different clients and automation and visualization into their data. So I'm pretty jazzed about that. Before we wrap up, I mean, the train is absolutely pulling into the station with a 45-minute user group, which is awesome. Nobody drove, nobody wasted gas, nobody parked. I love it. Does anybody have any more questions that they'd like to see? Because I'm about to put the poll up for our next user group. We're doing this user group every third Thursday. You guys are going to get the invite because you attended. You're going to get all the materials back and the whole thing. It looked pretty awesome. I think we had 60 people this time. I think we just got a question about, can you talk about how Claris Connect affects this? I'm not quite sure what you mean by that. Maybe you could give us a little bit more of what your use case is. Is there any way to tap into Google Doc? I would have to say yes, right?
Yeah, I mean, Google definitely has an API for that. So you could certainly, again, I don't know to what extent you can integrate with Google Docs, but they definitely have an API for it, and you can definitely tap in at some level.
I see. So what Wynn was asking is, does Claris Connect automate any of the building of dashboards?
Yeah, I don't think I think the use case behind Claris Connect is really to kind of get the data into FileMaker. I haven't actually personally played around with Claris Connect yet, but from my
Yeah.
understanding of it, it's like, when something comes into QuickBooks, getting that information to automatically pull into the right place within FileMaker, and then from there you would build a dashboard that reports on that information.
Right.
So I don't know that it would necessarily really help you out all that much in terms of actually building and displaying your aggregations.
We should probably suggest a meeting of just Claris Connect, to really build some use cases with it and let Burgie go wild with that. He was on the ETS group, and he has some folks that he's done some stuff with. So I I like to keep a list of future topics. I am all about, if you go back to the slideshow, Ryan, we can kind of wrap this up, get people back to their day. We already did the questions, and now we're headed toward the ad. We've got to pay some bills. We still have our hosting offer, free hosting until June 30th. It's a 1-year contract afterward. It's super easy. It's your own virtual server. You can just go to the next slide. You can just throw something to, oh, this is my favorite part. I forgot about this. Yeah, so I told you I was going to do this, but give us a tip.
So this one is new to FileMaker 19.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So it's kind of a hidden one. I don't think I've seen it really in any of their marketing materials. But if you're in
Ooh,
layout mode and you do Command Option K on Mac, I think on Windows is probably Control Alt K. I'm not. Don't quote me on that. But you get a new little quick layout picker, and you can quickly type in the name of a layout and switch to it, which I think is neat.
what did I just press? Control, what?
Well, on Mac, it's Command Option K in layout mode.
Command Option K
Yeah,
in layout mode.
yeah.
Gotcha.
The FileMaker 19 specific one. So if you're still stuck in 18 for right now, you're not going to have access to that one. But that just means that you have something new to look forward to when you do upgrade.
Yeah, check your email boxes, check your spam, because I know that FileMaker did send out all the licensing yesterday, all the downloads. We sent an email to everybody who's licensing with us that has your download link. So you can absolutely get the head start on 19 and check out some of the features. I think Mike Burgie, who he runs a cough mug user group in Columbus. I think that he dropped in. If you scroll up a little bit on the group chat, he dropped in a link where they are doing a what's new in FileMaker 19 tonight. So if you want to kind of get a sneak preview, like I said, our meetings are going to be every third Thursday. June 18th is the next one. I will send invites out pretty much like I have. If you register, I make sure I take you off the list so you don't get spammed. If you have any ideas for office hours, again, I'm trying to make this a user group, not just a webinar. Throw an email to officehours@gomainspring.com, or you can send it directly to me. If you need help, we have a on-demand help desk that you can send a question or help or whatever to answer at Go Mainspring. If you don't know your licensing information, you can always call. I should have put this on here too. Just throw it into that office hours at gomainspring.com. If it doesn't matter if you bought it from Claris, somebody else, or us, or whatever the story. If you're not sure where your download is for 19, please put an email to that, and I'll sort it out to make sure that you get your download links so that you can start using it. Because let's take a poll about what our next meeting should be. I've collected a bunch of different topics, and I have a few from this chat that we're going to be adding for the next time, but I'm just wondering what we should do. Do you like FileMaker 19 review number 1? So that's the big reveal. It's almost like, you know, Claris Engage the last day when they announce when the next event is going to be, and you're like, oh, is it going to be Dallas? Is it going to be Florida? Is it going to be? Well, the next office hours is going to be in your home, and we're going to do a FileMaker 19 review, uh, and again, I want to focus on the spectrum. I want to focus on giving the technical folks the technology that they need, but I also want to help the business analyst folks just be able to see some features and some ideas of what they can do with FileMaker. Because a lot of, you know, we joke around, FileMaker does practically nothing out of the box, but it is the best and least expensive. I'm sounding like an ad now, but it's the least expensive custom development platform out there, and that's why you guys are all using it and loving it and the whole nine. And the fact that now we can get into dashboards and go into other systems and APIs and things like that even makes it better. So I think we have another slide, or no? And the survey says, nope, that's it. Okay, so I'll just show you. It was really close. It was a close poll, but it looks like we're gonna do a Mike Burgee led FileMaker 19 review. A little something for the tech person, a little something for the business person. And like I said, if you have any suggestions on how we can make it better, we're going to do a few of these, and then I'd like to start drawing some of you folks in. Maybe you can share your story about FileMaker, how you're using it, how it's automated you. You know, just looking at the attendee list, I see a lot of stories out there about how FileMaker has helped folks in their business. And those things are essentially, when I was calling around after our last office hours trying to get feedback, I would say the number one thing is show me some more stuff that I can do with FileMaker to give me ideas, because it's not so much whether FileMaker can do it or not, it's whether you can think it up. So Ryan, you did awesome. I will, like I said, I'll get this recording out to everybody. And you guys, this is Memorial Day. Be careful out there.